Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another fashion edition. As per requested, we are doing a countdown of Meghan's GMPs, giant man pants, giant trousers, wide leg trousers, whatever you like to call them. Meghan has an affinity, an affection for a giant pant. She really seems to like large trousers. We saw her way back when she was just an actress on Suits, a D list probably. She was wearing huge trousers a couple of times way back then. But we're going to take a look at newer photos. Well, at least, since she got with Harry and beyond. And we are going to rank 10 of her GMP moments from best to worst, but let me be clear. This is best to worst of this batch of 10, not best to worst in general. She wouldn't even get anywhere near best versions of GMPs. These are the best ways. These are some examples of how to wear wide leg trousers correctly. Yes, Catherine, Princess of Wales, is one who has mastered the wide leg trouser, in large part because she is quite tall, she's slim, she has a slightly rectangular body type that's rather athletic. So having that volume just helps bring a little bit of softness to her body type and add a little bit of complementary balance to her silhouette. We have a few red carpet moments that look okay, a few other celebrities here that have managed to pull off the look well and do it right. Now, sometimes people do show up on the red carpet with their trousers puddling up on the ground, and it is a hazard. It is. But it's not as bad when it's on the red carpet as when it's out in the real world, in the wild, like the Meg. The Meg wearing trousers that are puddling up on the ground and unhemmed in the wild is impractical. It's gross and dirty, but also, and a tripping hazard, but also it's just not how you wear them in real life. Functional versus editorial. Editorial is something more for an ad campaign. It can be for a red carpet, for a photo shoot, something where you're not having to walk around a lot. Celebrities get out of a car, they walk the red carpet, they go inside, they might be sitting down watching a film or, at a gala, at a dinner, an awards show. They're not walking in fields and on sidewalks and to and fro like this, like the Meg is. Out in the wild, these people who do it right are going to hem their trousers for being out and about in real life. There's a huge difference between functional and editorial fashion and style, and one of them is the whole functionality part of it being key, being able to wear it properly, and so hemming is required. Meghan runs into a lot of problems with her GMPs, one of which being that she tends to go for too high of a rise. Like these here, they're not technically wide leg, but look how high up they are. They are all the way up to her boobs. Bra meet belt is never going to be a good look, especially for somebody with a short torso like Meghan. Because Meghan Markle has a short torso and long lanky limbs, she needs to gravitate towards mid to lower rise trousers, which are just not very in right now, so they're harder to find. I get it. But by tucking them in and belting them the way that she tends to do, she's just drawing the eye there. She could always wear something like a jumper or a blazer closed so that it doesn't draw as much attention to the high rise of the trouser, and that would help. The other style concern that Meghan has is that she is widest at her shoulders and she has a boxier torso with no well-defined waist. Again, drawing the eye to the waist with a belt and giant pleats in your trousers is going to be the opposite of what you should do. So for Meghan, bringing in an element of softness by way of having a looser trouser pant leg is a good idea, but not too dramatically huge. You know what I mean? Having a little bit of volume there helps to sort of camouflage or blend the fact that she does have really lanky, thin limbs. It brings a little bit more balance in that regard, but you'll see. The way Meghan goes about it always ends up looking awkward and strange. Here at number 10, this is probably the best in terms of the trousers go of the bunch, okay? It's still not great. But look, they are hemmed properly. As you can see, as she is walking, you can see the sole of her high heels and the stem are not obstructed by the pant leg. Additionally, they're not so wide leg that they're flapping about like a ridiculous amount of volume in the trouser leg here. It's relatively straight throughout the thigh, not too baggy looking, and then it doesn't flare out too dramatically. They're still not my favorite trouser, but they're not anywhere near as bad as we're going to get to. The real trouble of this particular outfit came from the blazer. The longer length of the blazer isn't bad for her because it does elongate her shorter torso a little bit. It helps blend that style concern. But the way that she has it buttoned here is creating a really frumpy look around her midsection and her upper thighs. She should have gone for a different approach. Like, this blazer with these trousers in this way, at this length, are not playing nice together. If the blazer were just an inch or two shorter, where it still covered her hip line, we still would be blending the short torso without leaving this frump around the front and the belly area. The other problem with this outfit was this was an Invictus moment where she walked along like a track field. And so in high heels, in this sort of a suit, it just looked incredibly overdressed, which reads was pretentious, especially at a sporting event. You're around a specific type of crowd. When you're around athletes at a sporting event and fans of sport, and you come out in something like this, they're not going to respect you. And you're going to look foolish and out of place. Next, a rather similar pair of trousers that have more dramatic pleats across the lower abdomen, the crotch area. As you can see, there's a lot of bulk happening in that area. But once again, they are hemmed almost enough. They're not hemmed fully enough. They're maybe a centimeter or two too long still. As you can see here, they are starting to bend and fold. When a trouser is too long and the hemline hits the ground, then it kind of buckles or folds or puddles because it has nowhere else to go. And so we see a little bit of that down here at the bottom, but not as much as we will see coming up next. So these I placed at number 9. They're not terrible, but they still could have a lot of improvements here. Once again, the top was the big mistake. They do not match enough. The top is a lot more cream, a lot more warm than the trouser. But also, this was for an event that they were speaking with and speaking about families who had lost a child to online, situations like they've tried to do as one of their initiatives that they're really not finding success in. But having an off-the-shoulder top like this was so grossly inappropriate. It upset me, and it still does. Why would she think an off-the-shoulder thing is appropriate when you're talking about families that have gone through their worst nightmare? I'm sorry. How is that appropriate in any realm, in anywhere? Super not okay. Horrible choice. Just disrespectful and tacky. But also it wasn't a good match. As you can see, once again, we have a lot of frump happening where the top hemline is at the bottom, meeting up with the trousers there. It's just creating a lot of bulk. It just didn't flow nicely. Not a good match. Next up, we have another pair of white wide leg trousers, GMPs. Who'd have thought? Meghan Markle wearing whites and creams and beiges. It's so uninspiring. This was at the Girls Inc. visit. These are wrinkly as all get out, but at least they are hemmed better. As you can see here, they are not folding up as badly. I still don't understand why she felt the need to wear heels to go hang out with young girls for the day, but okay, here we are. These trousers are still too high rise. As she is tucking in her top, you can see she's drawn attention to that boxier torso and shorter torso. And the wrinkles just look awful. They just look bad. And the pleats are adding visual weight to her lower abdomen on top of it all. That's probably compounded by the fact that the shirt's tucked in. It's probably adding even more bulk to the belly. Whereas if she opted for a cardigan or a jumper or a t-shirt, the Girls Inc. t-shirt, so she could just pop on top, there'd be less frump happening in the lower belly. But at least they're hemmed properly. Next up, we have the unhemmed, buckling and puddling on the floor, hilarious outfit that she wore to the G9 summit last summer. Once again, a very similar silhouette that we've already seen in the previous outfits. These look to be slightly less bulky, but they are quite voluminous and they are not hemmed at all. Look at them, just puddling up, folding up, bulky, messy. This makes it look like she's wearing someone else's trousers, like she's playing dress up, like she doesn't know what she's doing. It's so amateur. And additionally, because she has that shorter torso, sometimes these style of tops that are meant to be a little bit longer, like almost tunic length, end up looking a little silly, a little too big or ill-fitting. She really needs to have things hemmed under the armpit as well as the bottom to really get the right proportions for her. Because as you can see, there's a lot of gaping and ill-fitting vibe around the bust and the waist. And then on top of it, the top is quite long. And again, a slightly longer top is good for Meghan, but not quite this long where it looks ill-fitting. Now here is where things really start to fly off the rails. Meghan Markle, when she was in, I think this was Colombia. Yep, it was Colombia. She wore these brown satin wide leg trousers that just have an elastic band and this off-toned brown shirt, button-down shirt with it. So many problems happened, including sweat or a spill of water. Who really knows? But these were probably the most embarrassing outfit of her trip just because there was wetness all over her lap. Her upper thigh, crotch region had stains or water or sweat all over it. And so that was just really unfortunate. If she weren't such a horrid person, I think a lot of people would have felt bad for her for this having happened. But here we are. So this was a huge mistake in terms of choosing the right type of fabric for the right type of moment. If you're going to be on stage or photographed, try to stay away from shinier fabrics because they will show moisture or stains or anything of that nature a lot more than a matte fabric. So these shiny, satiny trousers just really drew attention to the fact that there was some sweat stains or some water spillage in her lap area. And that is unfortunate. But also this was an elastic band moment, which just doesn't read professional. Like if you're going to be on stage, please never wear an elastic band anything if you're going to be on stage, unless it's like a dress that has an elastic band around the waist to define the waist a little bit, like that could be okay. Or if the elastic band is completely hidden and nobody is going to see it, that's okay. But we could see that this was an elastic band and it just is like, excuse me, are you in pajamas? Could you not put on real trousers today? What is happening? You're on stage talking with a microphone. You want to be taken seriously and you're wearing elastic pants. No, thank you. But they also were just a frivolous GMP moment that was not necessary and came out looking bad for lots of reasons. Also, this top, as we spoke about, has a very warm tone to it, and the trousers have a slightly cooler tone. I don't even know if you can call them officially trousers or GMPs. They look like pajama pants. So these tones didn't match well enough either. So the outfit was a total mess. Next up, we have some of the worst GMPs we have ever seen on the Meg. Look how voluminous they are. These are some huge trousers. They have enough fabric to make 2 pairs of wide leg trousers. You would be able to make 2 whole pairs of wide leg pants with the fabric that is in these pant legs. It is astonishing. But also, she once again mismatched her tones in this outfit here, and this was an Invictus thing. A lot of people commented, what is happening with the cups, with the boobage here? It looks weird. It does a little bit. There was also some puckering on her shirt sleeve hem. These are 3/4 sleeves, which is good because then at least she's not shoving them up all messily, but it also just makes it look like her arms are too long and lanky. And she does have long arms. I mean, her arms go almost to her knees, which is pretty long. It's because she has that shorter torso and long, lanky limbs. But this just kind of looked a little off. She should really stick with elbow length, or if she's gonna go 3/4, it should be the type of 3/4 that's right by the elbow, not closer to the wrist like these are. Because this just made it, these hit her right about here when her arm is down. these sleeves, the cuffs hit right about here, which just makes it look like her arms were too long. So a 3/4 sleeve that looks more intentional is up a little higher, closer to the elbow. But as for the GMPs, these are the biggest of all the GMPs. She's drawing the eye right there to the belt and the boxy torso and the massive amount of visual weight and pleats from that lap areas, extra fabric, and all those wrinkles. My goodness, they're out of control. And as you can see here, when she's standing still, the pants are buckling and puddling up on the floor, making her look ridiculous, like she's wearing someone else's trousers, like she doesn't understand how to wear clothes. She wore them again. She re-wore them, I think this was last fall, with this turtleneck tank top, which a lot of you felt like was kind of ridiculous. Contrast of ideas here, conflicting ideas. If you're wearing a turtleneck, though, you wouldn't want your sleeves off. You wouldn't want it to be sleeveless, because if you're wearing a turtleneck, you're probably cold. But she wore them again, just as wrinkly, just as frumpy. Something about these wide leg trousers on Meghan that have the really high rise, because usually they do have quite the high rise. And this is something that designers kind of haven't quite come around, or clothing manufacturers haven't quite realized. They design these things and have models take the pictures for the ad campaigns that have well-defined waists and are tall. And so a wide leg trouser that has a high rise is going to look fine on them, because it's going to show a well-defined waist and accentuate it at the correct spot on their torso. And then the pleats lay flatter and look more swooshy and more flowy on a tall, slim woman with a well-defined waist. And somebody who has a shorter torso, a boxier torso, or lacks a well-defined waist, it's not going to do the same thing, because you don't have that moment where the volume of the trousers is really reined in and controlled with that well-defined waist, allowing the pleats to lay flatter and swooshier. Like that, you can't achieve that if you have a wider, boxier torso. Now, I've talked about this before. If you carry weight in your midsection, or you are kind of an apple-shaped, you have a belly, wide leg trousers that have some pleats can be helpful to get a better fit for you, because those pleats and the extra fabric can allow more room for your belly. But if you don't have that need, the way Meghan doesn't, she doesn't need extra room around her torso. She just needs to not draw the eye to her midsection and her waistline, because it's not well defined, so it just looks boxy and frumpy. Because of that, you'd be better off going for something that doesn't have pleats, that has a flat front, and that maybe doesn't, don't highlight the belt. Wear a shirt that comes out on top of. Don't tuck in. You know what I'm saying? If you're more in the category of Meghan, where you don't have a well-defined waist, versus somebody who carries weight in their belly and has a bit of a tummy or an apple shape to them. Because you can benefit from that little bit of extra fabric if you're carrying weight there. But if you're not, and you don't have a well-defined waist the way Meghan does, then stay away from the pleats, please, for the love of God. So that's why when Meghan wears these, it just ends up looking like this box, and so wide, and it makes her look so unfairly frumpy and wide throughout her torso and midsection. Even though she's, upset a lot of people, it's difficult to look at somebody making these sorts of styling errors and not wish to help the situation or fix the situation. The Time 100 Summit, here she is wearing the hugest trousers. So much volume in the pant leg. Look at it. It just looks hilarious. There's too much volume at this point. This is going a little too far. It's a little too editorial. It looks silly. The amount of fabric is just laughable. And look at it. Just so much. It's folding out onto the sidewalk. It's folding over her shoes. It's overwhelming, and it makes her torso and her waistline look frumpy, massive, huge. It's just ridiculous. And this was a linen suit, so it also struggled with holding on to the wrinkles on top of it all. And I've talked about before, when we did the fashion edition on this moment, that having her hair up would have really helped. It would have made a little bit of a perkiness. It would have looked more like polished and like she reined in the volume of the outfit with an updo. It would have helped a lot, but of course, almost every time she's worn GMPs, she's had her hair down. Just lean into the frump and the mess, I guess. And perhaps one of the worst offenses of this particular outfit was the scrunching up of the sleeves of the blazer. Just don't do that to your blazers, okay? It's something done in editorial moments, in photo shoots. It's not something that should be done in your everyday. Just don't do it. Fold them up nicely or leave them down. Meghan would probably benefit from leaving them down, or she could have somebody hem them to hit her at the 3/4 length if she wanted. That was right for her, but she doesn't, as we know. And a dishonorable mention here, simply due to the ick factor of Meghan Markle copying Princess Diana's super famous twist top. You know the one, I'm sure. It was her last photo shoot, I believe. Anyway, there's no explanation for how Meghan got her hands on a near identical top, but it's creepy no matter which way you try to spin it, and it does her no favors, making her shoulder line with the black trousers look even more exaggerated and broad, widening her waist as well due to that white collar on top and dark on bottom, which makes her lower body look even slimmer where she needs the exact opposite to balance her frame. So even though these trousers are less voluminous, less messy looking thanks to the dark color hiding the wrinkles that will inevitably form, and that's the other thing, we know when we sit for a while wrinkles will form in so many fabrics, so choose darker colors and you'll camouflage them. But these GMPs, even though they looked hemmed better than some and they're not hiked up to her boobs, they are too tight, especially across the abdomen, and then paired with the creepy top, none of it is working, quite frankly. So the ick factor really pushed these down in the rankings. Okay, it was really difficult for me to decide between the absolute worst, frumpiest GMP moment and second to worst. Slot number 9 and slot number 10 was really challenging. So I put these at number 9, second worst, because they are hemmed almost correctly. That is the one thing that made me put them at number 9 instead of number 10. They're almost hemmed properly. As you can see here, the pant leg, the hemline just barely hovering above the ground or a centimeter shorter is exactly what you want for wide leg trousers. You want your shoe to be visible while you're walking, because then you're not going to step on your trousers. But these have so much pleating around the belly, so much extra fabric, that although they bring a little bit of balance to her long and lanky limbs, they have just too much volume to look right. They look ridiculous. And then the belt with the halter neck tucked in is just showing off that boxy torso. It's making her look very rectangular, very, very boxy. And then this particular outfit really leaned into and enhanced that broad shoulder line. So it was just a mistake on all fronts. Drawing the eye to that waistline is it's never going to work for Meghan, just because of her body type and structure. And the sooner we all embrace our body type and dress for it, the more confidence we will have, the happier we will all feel, and the more stylish we will all look. She wore them again when she did the super cringe Drew Barrymore visit. I will link that for you here. These just, as you can see, a lot of great angles to see the frump that they have. From the back, we are working with a very broad shoulder line, a sort of hunched posture, and a very frumpy buttocks region. Just the frumpiest and most unattractive option. And then very boxy. No waistline in sight. Just boxy. It's unfortunate. I get that she has an affinity for these types of trousers. But like I said, lower the rise of them. Stop highlighting the waist. Or try slightly less voluminous trousers and you will have more success, Meg. Oh my God. The Meg's absolute worst wide leg trouser moment was this at Wimbledon. Still one of the funniest pictures, because what is going on with these trousers? The pant leg is just eating her shoes alive. No feet in sight. She's stepping on the fabric. She tripped herself at one point while she was greeting these tennis fans. The wrinkles throughout, I mean, the whole thing. The shirt tucked in super strangely. She's got a pin holding the shirt tight underneath and then billowing out up on top. Like, she just went to such great lengths and overworked this outfit. The messy pop of the collar. Just stop trying so hard. It's not working. Oh my goodness. She went overboard. And these trousers are just hilarious. And one of her first outings, it was the first time she went to Wimbledon with Catherine. She just made a fool of herself wearing these silly pants and dressing like the refs as well with the top. What would you rank as the worst GMP moment of the bunch? Please leave it in the comments. I cannot wait to read it. It should be a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I'll see you next time. Bye.